Hey everybody, it is Sunday morning, very early Sunday morning at 1:35 a.m. right now. Um, Dishes have been put in the dishwasher a little bit earlier, and throughout the night, I was adding to my description in the earlier video, Prayerless Prayers, and it's just one of those nights where I just, I think of something that I wanted to add, or like had earlier, and ideas were just not staying in my head. Like like a stream of ideas was not kind of sticking with me. So I would, be fixated on one point, and then I'd articulate it, but the other, like maybe two or three that I had in mind when I started, were already gone. And then later it would come back, and I'd go, oh, yeah. So I wanted to, one of the points I wanted to make, and I didn't make it until, think to make it in this, in the last video, until, I already want to start this video over again, because I didn't like, you see why, by the way? I'm sorry, like, if you can tell now why I had to make, this is why I had to make notes for this. Where ordinarily, like on a day like where I wasn't having that block or whatever, I would be, this would all just kind of come out in a natural flow. And I'm a little bit bothered that, my enthusiasm for what I'm about to talk about might not come out as naturally as it would on another time. And I'm a little bit bothered by that. But anyway, one of the points I wanted to make about Andrew's videos that's important to me enough to not let that go by is my attitude toward the police. Because you might see in those, if you look in that description of the previous video that mentions me, police at the door, woken up by the police, okay, that one, the 6 p.m. prayerless video. You might get the idea from Andrew's videos, the titles, that I don't like the police. That is, nothing could be further from the truth. I want to make that very, very clear. And also, if more drug addicts had my attitude toward the police and could have my attitude toward the police, I don't think that I think their lives would go a lot better, honestly. So anyway, here I am, instead of adding it to the description, I'm just going to make a video. The Lord gave me the idea to do that. And so basically, I don't know what I'm going to call this yet, but it's basically going to be like why. God, I want to start this video over, do it like another time, but the Lord wants me to do it right now. So I'm going to do it, why I consider the police, as a drug addict, why I consider the police my allies. I'm friends, and I always have. And after this, you'll understand exactly why. Because it's not, it's not, it sounds like bullshit, I think. A lot of times people are like, well, I consider it, just trying to look good or whatever, so that way, you're not going to get in trouble or something. But, no. I mean, first of all, no. That's not it at all. I was just about to jump into a major point. And no, I want to get to it in order. Like most people, and I know a lot of people that, I do know a fair amount of people that do not feel this way, but they are still not most people, okay? Like, when you are a criminal or you're a drug addict, you are around, like, a lot of people that represent a very small percentage of the people. So, like most people, have always had a natural resistance to doing people wrong. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I haven't done wrong. We'll get into that. But what I'm saying is that, it's just natural. I have a conscience about, I'm not going to go into people's houses. I just don't feel entitled to, if I like something they have when they're not looking, I'm going to you know what I mean? I'm going to steal it or something like that. You never had to tell me why I shouldn't do that or anything like that. It's just kind of I don't want to cause anyone harm. You know what I mean? I don't have some people have a natural inclination or just don't care. Usually that is kind of coupled with a desire to do it, though, too, typically. You know what I mean? For example, psychopaths lack of conscience about being able to feel like that, you know, they've done anything wrong. They also tend to also have other qualities that I was going to say exacerbate, or like they kind of, you know what I mean? They do want to act against. You know, not only do they not care about it, but they also have an inclination to do people wrong. Anyway, I've always, you know, having empathy, I've, even on drugs, that's been there. I don't know what to say. I mean, even as a drug addict, I'm trying to think. One time a guy was being, one time I can think of, where a guy was being an asshole, like a real asshole. And again, though, as I'll get into, I knew I was doing wrong when I did it, but I decided I was going to try to steal an 8-ball from him. Because I was like, you know, you're a fucking prick. Like, seriously, fuck you. You know what I mean? You're going to treat me like that? Well, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I was still, again, it's still, sometimes, like, people get confused about whether or not they have the right to do something, or whether or not they have a good reason for doing it. It doesn't make it right. Like, that's very, very important to understand. But anyway, so let me try to go in order here, though. So oh, well, there we go. I think that's the second one. When I've been tempted to do wrong, it's always been clear why it's a bad idea, and that I wouldn't be doing it, and that I shouldn't be doing it. And by choosing to do it, I risk experiencing the consequences of that action, either morally, legally, or both. Okay, like, because there's obviously not all there's not consequences, legal consequences to everything that's immoral. You know what I mean? That you shouldn't be doing. We'll get into that right here, because this is the next point. The law seeks to be in line with the golden rule, and therefore prevent and penalize people for not treating others the way they would want to be treated, according to the democratic majority. Now, see, here's the thing, because you're always going to find those people, like as I wrote down here, you know, I said, not the few people who don't mind if other people blast the stereo at 3 a.m. You know what I mean? There's always going to be those, well, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, whatever, you want to do that, you know? But I'm going to tell you, no, you know, most people that steal, okay, I know a fair amount, though, that are indifferent to getting stolen from. They don't like, they'll bitch about it, but, like, they just accept it as a natural course of, like, well, whatever, it's just what, you know, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. If you want to know the truth, like, I don't know. But all I know is that, like, you know, that radio guy, I don't know. I mean, perhaps I'm lucky in a way that I've never been someone that, like, even when I'm on drugs, I'm not, like, completely, in fact, I'm still very attentive to you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But some people, like, I can't, I don't want to get moral, I don't want to get preachy about that, because I know that, you know, some people literally just can't, it's just not there. I'm not trying to, so I don't want to blame people. I'm just trying to make a point about me. Because I believe in the golden rule, I don't want to do people wrong or whatever. You can kind of see now here that I'm getting to the police and I are on the same, we're on the same page about things. All right? But at the same time, as I mentioned, the law does not attempt to legislate all morality. Okay, so, like, you can lie to your boss and call in sick when you're going somewhere else, and you're not going to get arrested for that. It's not a crime. Okay, or you can cheat on your spouse, and you're not going to get arrested for that either. But you shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't do it. All right, and this is, the law does this not to be too harsh, not to invade people's lives too far further than we really need to. Okay, in this society, there are places where you can get stoned for cheating, and in other parts of the world, you know. Okay, because it requires sufficient proof of guilt to prosecute. You know what I mean? There has to be sufficient. Also, there has to be sufficient evidence, because we don't want to willy-nilly just, like, I feel he's guilty. Yeah, all right, let's kill him. You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool, right? And when we say we, by the way, I mean, all of us collectively as a Democratic majority, you should be able to understand that even if you don't personally agree with the law, all right, that most people do, and it's in most people's best interests. And so therefore, this is where I get to next. Now, nobody likes bullies. What does that say? Oh my God. I was trying to write fast too, because I wanted to like get this, and now I can't read my own writing. Nobody likes bullies unless you're a bully, okay? And bullies break the law, either acting lawfully, either acting immorally but lawfully, as we just covered, or immorally and illegally. Now, in most cases, to the best of our ability, all laws are in line with the morality of the people. Sometimes we discover how a law is not, and it either gets repealed or, but as soon as it kind of comes to the public attention, like, wait a minute, this isn't like, it's not doing what we want it to, or it's just not, something's not right about it, we take action on it. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes, it's true. It doesn't always happen like, the moment you realize it, or even the moment a bunch of you realize it. But that's the idea, though. You know what I mean? The laws reflect the will of the people. All right? Nobody wants their house broken into. Some of these, I'm sorry, this is not the most organized, because that should have been covered earlier, but it is the way it is. That's the way the Lord wants it right now. Wants their money or possessions stolen, right? Nobody wants that. Again, you're probably not watching this if you're one of those people, though. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't care. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know what to tell you, though. Speaking to you that are not watching this, I don't know what to tell you that I don't speak to you. But all you can, the best you can do is realize that, like, I can see why most people would want that. You know what I mean? That's all I get. Anyway, many or most laws around drugs still make sense to me, even though I'm an addict. I understand and I agree that it's a bad idea to have people injecting drugs on BART. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand that. That's not, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking of all the, the years I was homeless, just like some of the stuff, and it's not to blame, but I just have, that's the, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't know, I understand why that is not really obvious to you, but like, or people driving intoxicated. I don't. You know what I mean? Now I'm going to be really honest with you. I've driven drunk, and one time I had a really bad accident that, let me not even get into that. I have driven drunk before, and I've gotten a DUI. That does not mean, though, that, like, so I understood while, I was getting arrested, I mean, like, why that was happening. Of course, I saw the police is still enforcing my will, even though I'm getting arrested for it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's still not an enemy thing. I shouldn't have been doing it, and I was very clear on that. I chose, say chose. Let me even back up on that. Let's forget that thing. I did it. Okay? I understand why they don't want people trading EBT, food stamps for drugs. I mean, all these things, that people do, you can kind of see if you look at the larger picture, like why that's just not something that's just a thing, like we should just allow it. Like, think about it that way. Like, if we just have a law, just like let it happen. Just be, think about, like, if you want to do it and you pick it, like, you know what I mean? All right, but would you want everybody? I mean, look what would happen if everybody did that or whatever. So if you happen to get caught taking a chance on something like that, one time when I was homeless, a few things I've done for a little while when I was homeless, I did a little bit of shoplifting. I did. But, never, believe it or not, nothing ever big enough to, like, sell for drug. Actually, that's not true. Tell you the truth. No, that's not true. I did do that. A couple of times. And Anyway, long story short, one time I got caught shoplifting at the Dollar Tree. And as soon as he saw me, I was kind of like, all right, because again, I naturally knew that like I shouldn't be doing it. It was food. It was a couple of cans of food to eat or whatever, and I apologized, and and he asked me not to come back in again. I said, okay, like I wasn't, you know what I mean? I didn't give him like a fuck you, whatever, like that. Like it just made sense to me. Like I was taking something that wasn't mine. Now, so here, something else I want to get into too. All right. Corporations are people. Because this is getting into another big thing that I ran into with drug addicts. They don't seem to get. Like, corporations are people, okay? So either like venture capital firms invest money in either public or private corporations, okay? So even if it's a private, non-publicly traded corporation, like where people don't invest money of their own on the stock market in order to put money into that, to get, obviously they're giving their money to be able to try to get money back. Hopefully it's an investment, right? It's unearned income, that's called. All right? It's still people's money. So if, I put here, addicts think that it's not really stealing in the same way. It's because, honestly, because a lot of people have trouble with abstraction. If it's not something they can see, like right in front of their face, the connection right in front of their face, then it isn't that. Well, like, this is a perfect example of why that's bullshit. All right? Like, addicts think that it's not stealing when it's big business, like banks or large chains. But when revenue suffers from theft, like shrinkage, which like shoplifting, or because of fraud, because like, somebody created a scam to steal money from banks or like, wire fraud or whatever, the stock drops in public corporations and investors lose their money. So yeah, you are stealing from people. You know what I mean? If that business suffers and has, now here's the thing here. People are gonna go, well, come on, like, I can't see me visible. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like they weather it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it is stealing, okay, but like, they get through it. People are gonna say bailouts or whatever, but like, a lot of times, yeah, the federal government, it's true, allows people to write things off, like shrink it, absolutely. But it's still, the money's coming from somewhere. It's not just like invisible money that just poof, pops out of nowhere. Like, I mean, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It comes from somewhere, always. And the only people, there's no cats and dogs that make money, that they're putting money in, so it's not stealing from people. If it's money, it comes from people, and it's someone's money. It's not always clear to you where necessarily the source is, but you may rest assured that people are affected. Even, you know what I mean? People, sometimes like if people bitch about like, why benefits drop, or like, insurance benefits, or like, you know what I mean? It's all connected. Anyway, so I said even in cases where it's tolerable, like businesses can weather it, it's not okay because, shrinkage won't close Walgreens, neither will my life fall apart if someone steals my coffee mug or my TV. Like, it's not gonna, you know what I mean? If you're watching Justin, like, oh, he didn't fall, he looks fine. He looks fine. He's going on doing exactly the way he was before, and he doesn't have his coffee mug, so there's nothing wrong with it? No. It doesn't mean that it's someone else's right to take my shit just because I'm not going to be majorly affected by it. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that, like, it's no big deal that I go take, The problem, though, is that me explaining this, like, is not going to convince someone that doesn't give a shit about it, unfortunately. It's just, that's too bad. But, like, but there are people out there who are kind of, not totally bankrupt morally, but, like, have just, have kind of fallen into the mindset, kind of like I did for like a little while, of like, which though I didn't forget, it's going to be exactly those people out there that still know that they're doing wrong. And so, like, there's a chance, you know what I mean? Eventually, like, they're going to be like, wait a minute, like, taking stock and, like, I shouldn't do that. So it doesn't mean that it's that person's right to do it, you know? So here's the thing. So acting lawfully is acting defensively. When you can defend your behavior, okay, if you're acting, you don't have to run around in secret trying to do stuff. You don't have to worry about, you know, for example, you know, I, even when, if I've acted wrong, I've been comfortable admitting, like, yes, I did this wrong decision, and this is like what led me to do it, and I understand why there's a penalty for that. You know, even if I don't like it, I may not like it, but it doesn't mean that, like, I oppose, you know what I mean? I'm not going to stand up for the law in that instance. Like, that doesn't make sense, because that would make me a bully. You know what I mean? If I thought that, for example, like, okay, yeah, I am a little bit, I don't want everyone drunk driving, but I am, you know, some people have a half a drink and they're driving over curves, and other people, like my grandfather, used to go, honestly, my grandfather used to go to the bar, you know, he wasn't a bar hanger outer, but he was a bowler, you know what I mean, a family man type guy, spent most of his time at home, usually, but on like Thursday or Friday nights, he'd go to the bowling alley, bowl, and have, you know, probably like 5 beers. 5, maybe, I don't know if he ever had 6, but I know he'd have like 4 or 5, you know. I know he'd be feeling it, okay? Never had an accident on the way home from the bowling alley. That's fine, you know what I mean? He was a good drunk driver. Some drunk drivers are, like, you know, fine. But the thing is, we can't test that on a case-by-case basis. Because, honestly, look at the statistics for drunk driving. It's fucking dangerous. You don't want people doing that. You don't want people doing that. So if you get caught for drunk driving, why would you ever expect that you should be the one that shouldn't have to, you know what I mean? Like, then you would be an asshole. It's like, it's just not, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. So, because of all that, I've always felt the police are acting in my best interests. So what I'm trying to say is, if, you know, when I was homeless, you know, because you're homeless, right? Okay, so there's no place to go. You know, you think you're going to duck into a corner and shoot up in a bathroom or something like that, and boom, the police walk in or something, and you're not in a stall or whatever. Well, like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, all right, you know, do I want to get caught? Like, no, but, like, you are doing your job, and I'm doing something that we both know that I shouldn't be doing. You got me. So, you know, now, so why, for example, why would I want to post videos if I'm acting defensively? Why would I not want to talk to the police? Right? Well, I'm able to do this, but I right now I'm not gonna. I know I'm not gonna do it the way I would want to, and that is that, like, I still feel the police are my allies, but that doesn't always necessarily mean the police to act in the best interest of me or someone else necessarily. For example, like, or that we act in our own best interests. You know, that's honestly, like, also part of it. You know. Say, like, for example, okay, perfect example. Andrew Flushy, whose videos I posted there, said, like, all right, well, you know, if the police ask you if you can search, they can search your car, you know, you shouldn't consent to a search. Now, you know, if they're going to search it, they're going to search, you know, if they force you to do it until you get out of the car, well, that, you know, you got to, even if they're acting, you sort that out in court. All right? Don't resist the police. You don't want to do it, believe me. Because honestly, if they are willing to trample on those particular police officers are willing to trample on your rights, you know, they're gonna, you know, they don't. Resisting them is just going to make it worse. But so let's say this though, you know, here's the thing. You get pulled over. Cop wants to search your car, but he asks you to do it. Or, or says, like, do you have anything illegal in your car? The best thing is, well, to watch the video, because I'm not remembering exactly what, like, all the details here. But let's say this. What if you had a friend in the car, right? That did have, you don't know what you're, a lot of times you could be hanging out with a friend, okay? Maybe they do drugs and they don't tell you. Let's say you're not a drug addict, so they're not going to tell you, right? What if they drop something in your car? And you don't see it, it slips between the seats or whatever, could be anything. Do you know for a fact? That, like, someone that you gave a ride to did not drop anything in that car so much, with so much certainty, that you're willing to have a police officer search it? Because that could land you in some trouble. You know what I mean? Now, there's a perfect example, like, where the police and you may be on the same side, like where I could be on the same side as the police, but that could cause me some legal consequences. That, like, wait a minute, the law is there to protect my rights as well, and so that's why, like, it's important to know your rights and how the police might be. You know what I mean? It could work out against your favor by doing that. That's what I'm saying. Man, I want to do a better video of this, because I know I'm leaving stuff out. I didn't make the points in the right order. I'm not as articulate as I might be on other days. But that's why, that's that. I feel, I understand, even though I'm a drug addict, and occasionally when I relapse, I break the law, right? But first of all, I've never been into the other stuff that drug addicts generally do. I mean, when I have done a little bit of it, but, like, at some point along the way, even before the midpoint, I think, I kind of just stopped doing it, because I didn't like shoplifting anyway. It was always something that it just, let's put it this way. When I go into Walgreens, when I go into Walgreens and I'm paying for something, like I always do now, again, I don't have the feelings inside of me that I had when I was shoplifting, which is, like, just kind of, what I mean? Like, you could get caught. It's, what I mean? Just, because I know that it's nice to be able to walk and talk and act openly without anything to fear. That gives when there's a reason, to get busted, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't walk around with that kind of same openness, with that same lack of fear, and if you get in trouble for it, you can't defend it. You can't. The best thing you can do is have an attorney that will make sure that you are not getting prosecuted without, what I mean? Like, for example, like that the evidence, all the evidence is there, and that it, even sometimes where people, are guilty and get off, and we know that, on what they call, like, a technicality, but it's really, like, more that, like, we need this in order for this to happen, and there wasn't enough of that. You know what I mean? And anyway, I won't get into that, especially because I can't explain that right now. But there are many good reasons for that. But yeah, I've never felt. Was I in the middle of a point before about? Well, no, I made it. So, like, even before, I just kind of naturally drifted away from shoplifting again. I said I'm going to stop or anything like that. And I was always conscious when I was doing it. I was like, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I understand why I'm doing it. And there are worse things in life. But I know that I'm wrong. It's not right. You know what I mean? For example, like, stealing food because you're hungry is an understandable reason. But, you know, it doesn't make it right, though. You know what I mean? Because, again, it's still, you see how that's all connected there? All that, the money comes from somewhere. And you're still taking something that is someone else's. Anyway, you know, and I've covered the laws on drugs as far as, you know, oh, that's where I was going. So, you know, yeah, so, well, I even covered that, all right. That when I buy drugs, when that happens, you know, if I relapse, yeah, I'm breaking the law, you know, but it's not because, you know, well, it doesn't matter, really. I was going to say, it's not because I want to go break the law. It's just that because I can't help it, because I'm an addict. But it doesn't matter. I don't, for example, if I did get arrested in connection with buying drugs, and a cop arrested me, I wouldn't get indignant being like, well, I can't help it, I'm an addict. You know what I mean? Like, I look at it as there's a lot of other lawlessness associated with the traffic of drugs as well, that, you know what I mean, that I don't agree with. And if we didn't have laws against drug use, you know what I mean? And I understand that some people are like, well, you know, we should legalize all drugs and stuff like that. We had legal heroin in this country, and, you know, in the form of opium and heroin. Heroin used to be, look it up. Heroin used to be in, like, kids' cough syrup, in the early 1900s. I think it was like 1904 or 1908, there was the first federal Narcotics Act. Because people were getting fucked up. It was bad. It was such a problem that people were like, we gotta do something about this. You could buy, like, heroin right over the counter. It was, you know what I mean? Like, and it was a bad idea. We thought it was a bad idea, so we created laws against that. Okay? Because en masse, it was a problem. I think I'm gonna leave it at that, I guess. Man. I'm publishing this because, you know what? I have to accept the fact that I can't be as perfect as I want to be all the time. Even though this is not the video that I wanted to do on the police, because I don't feel it does the whole thing justice at all. Nonetheless, it is the truth. So even if I don't look great saying it, that's what's there. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to remind you and myself, as I always do in every video, to brush your teeth, to floss, and to say your prayers. And I hope this gets across maybe to like one addict at some point. You know, that if it's just, you know, I've always felt that, especially because it's pretty much, you know, the biggest way I've broken the law all my life as an adult has been in connection with using drugs. Mainly it's been just buying drugs. And it's like, if that's the only reason you're breaking the law, you probably shouldn't feel at odds with the police. Because, you know, you guys are on the same page. I just don't see the reason to view police as enemies, you know? Remember that the police are the only protection against wrongdoing, and also the only protectors of making sure that you are not, you know what I mean, penalized, or you are not harmed without consequences arising from that. You know, we didn't have police arresting people. Everybody just do what the fuck they want, and, you know what I mean? Like, there is few people compared to the entire country of people that are okay with that. So take that into consideration. All right? I love you all. Let's say a prayer. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. All right, have a good night. I'm going to probably take a shower, and then hop into bed. The dishes are done. I don't have anything else to do. Hopefully I'm going to mop tomorrow because I didn't mop today. I meant to do that. That's all. Peace.